Tyrant Kun Mount Alba.
Yo, that's me.
That is you. How you doing, buddy?
Yo, I'm good. I'm tyranting it up. I've segregated everybody into the neighborhoods that they are going to live in, and
Right.
that is how they're just going to live their lives from now on.
Can you be a tyrant without segregation? Would really enjoy that.
Okay. It's really important to maintain the believed status quo I have between all the people who I have under me.
Don't like where that bit is going. So, Matt, this is a special episode, once a quarter that we do it, once a season that we do it in not business terms. This is our anime roundup episode, but Matt, a little bit of an interesting development has happened. Typically, Jaren actually, schedules this time to go and hang out with close personal friend Hayao Miyazaki-san, and yeah, they were supposed to meet up again this weekend. But then Miyazaki-san actually listened to Jaren's top 25 things of 2025. And he heard that Jaren's girls of the year were the girls from See You at the Food Court. And look, we all know this. Miyazaki-san has said anime is a mistake, and he's actually very upset at Jaren, and he's canceled all upcoming get-togethers.
Rakush?
And so, what's up, Matt?
I genuinely thought, or I genuinely became concerned partly through your bit that Hayao Miyazaki died. So I had to Google him to make sure.
I mean, he didn't die because of Jared's Best Girls of 2025. It's not that extreme,
man.
but he is disappointed. And Jaren, you're actually here. We've kind of ignored you for like a couple of minutes here. Jaren, how are you feeling about this development with your close personal friend?
Well, one of his wishes to me for this year was to talk about winter season anime. And boys, as Rakush has alluded to, I come out of character with some of my favorite winter season anime, including My Happy Marriage Season 2. I'm getting married to a girl I hate in my class. What else did I watch this season? Possibly The Greatest Alchemist of All Time. Just all bangers right now that I can't wait to talk to you guys about.
That's called euthanasia, Jared. I think you just killed Miyazaki-san by mentioning those.
I also watch Welcome to Japan, Miss Elf.
I don't want to bring these bad Miyazaki vibes. Oh man. Oh.
Yeah, so this episode's getting delayed in case anything bad happens to between now and when it releases.
Who do you guys think is Miyazaki's best girl?
Oh, from his movies, you think?
Yeah, okay, sorry, yes. Sorry. I meant to specify from his movies.
I think the Princess Mononoke one.
Okay.
Jaren, which one do you think it is? I feel like you'd have the most accurate answer here.
No, I'm tainted where I just assume everyone's best girl is Ichika or Nino. I have to throw some votes to Matt because of our mutual respect for one another.
Thanks, Jaren.
For boys, I feel like my goof of saying winter season 2025 animes went over everyone's heads, mostly because was this a good season? I'm actually scrolling through winter season 2025. And nothing's really sticking out to me.
I think it depends on what you were looking for from that season. I personally have been enjoying Tajima-kun Wants to Be a Kamen Rider quite a bit. But, yeah, I mean, I don't know. I wouldn't call it the best season ever.
What was even in 2025? Hey, I'm going to open it up.
I think the only thing I watched in winter season 25 was the daily life of a middle-aged online shopper in another world, because I like isekai garbage like that. But other than that, I think that Amiku MD Doctor Detective, was that good? Did you guys watch that? I feel like I saw a few people talk about it, but nothing too much.
I did not.
No.
Fair. But
I think the other one that I was really excited for when we did the winter episode last time was Sanda. I feel like it kind of got into territory that was a bit too bizarre for my liking.
Wasn't Sanda fall?
I thought that was winter.
What is time these days?
Oh, no, you're talking... Oh, sorry. You're talking Jan 2025. Yeah, what Jaren said. What is time? I don't know. Sorry.
Oh, actually, this season had I May Be a Guild Receptionist, but also Lo Any Boss to leave work early or whatever. I should have watched that.
Well, winter Yeah, Winter 2025 also had the second season finale of Apothecary Diaries. Like, that's one of my favorite of all
Sakamoto
time.
Days,
So, yeah, there's
Solo Leveling 2. It had some things.
Don was going for a bit, if I remember.
It had something called I'm Getting Married to a Girl I Hate in My Class, which should be up my alley, but we'll
that
see.
sounds so much like a Jaren anime.
But
guys, 2026, it's a new year, refreshing the winter season, and perfect timing because there's a winter storm outside as well. So what better time to talk about things that you can do indoors than at a time where you cannot go outdoors? So, Jaren,
I don't know, Rakush. I feel like the vibes are off
you.
because I warned Matt not to look outside, but Matt looked outside, and I feel like Father Winter is slowly creeping into the mistake zone, ready to give us some bad juju for the next hour and a half.
Well, we shall see.
Can't tell someone to not look. And expect them to not look.
It's, boys, as Rakush has alluded to, this is the Mistake Zone 2026 winter season anime introduction, recap, whatever, trademark Rakush place that I haven't been paying attention because I don't check our emails at all. But correct me if I'm wrong, boys. We have 15 anime episodes from this season that we're going to briefly go through. But
we do, yes.
I just wanted to follow up from last week's episode because Rakush,
what up?
You had a particular transit story of the air variety.
Yes.
And wanted to see, was there any follow-up to that? Just because when shoveling massive amounts of snow this week, I just remember me and Julian being livid. So we the friends, our listeners have to know, was your flight fully refunded?
No. So this is the annoying legal technicality that is currently holding up any sort of credit being delivered. First off, sent you guys a screenshot of this, but after we finished recording last week, I was on hold for 2 hours basically with Air Canada because they didn't actually have a clear enough ticket submission system online through which I could post my complaint. And then after just kind of doing a little bit of digging, they basically said that if something is called a transit stop and not a nonstop flight, then it's not considered a nonstop flight. Like, nonstop and direct are two different things, apparently, which I hate. So I've sent Air Canada, like, a letter or, like, a note sort of thing through their website portal. So let's see what actually comes out of it. But it's not looking good, boys. Not looking good.
I feel like this was a bad transit week in general, just because little, not to dox Rakush and I, but I know I think a subway stop down from where Rakush currently resides. And last Tuesday, I was in office. I was catching a later bus just to get back to where I parked just because there was a movie theater there. And my partner and I were going to watch a movie that evening. So I leave work around 4:40 to try to catch the bus that leaves the station beside Rakush's place around 4:45. And it usually takes like 5 minutes to get to in front of my work. So I'm sitting there. I see one bus that goes to the opposite direction. I see another bus that comes to the next town over. And I'm expecting my bus to get there in like a few minutes. 10 minutes pass, nothing. I see a bus come up. It's the next bus in the first route that passed me by earlier. And then I see another bus. It's the next bus for the second route that passes me by. All the time I'm checking the delays, but there's nothing about my stop saying, no, all buses should be scheduled. And let's just say when I expected to wait 5 minutes for the bus, I ended up waiting another 40 minutes for the bus. And this was one of those minus 25 days where, I don't know. Guys, I think I hate public transit. If maybe I need to allocate some more of my taxes to go to that, just because I was luckily, even though we were late to the movie, this was one of the few times I was grateful for there having to be 20 minutes of previews ahead of your movie actually starting, which Matt, have previews gotten longer over the years? Because I feel like it's never been 20 minutes. Or maybe I should be asking Rakush, because Matt, you don't really go out to the movies often.
It is terrible, dude. I know we're saving this conversation for like a future episode, but when I go watch All You Need Is Kill recently, the previews for that one were 25 minutes.
Oh,
I don't know, where I feel like growing up, previews used to be like 10 minutes most.
Max.
But I was glad to be walking into the theater and being greeted by Chris Pratt's Mario. And just stop delaying and get to the actual anime. Matt, did you watch the Mario Galaxy Direct earlier today?
Oh, I did not even know that happened.
Okay.
Also, funny thing, like
up?
I didn't mention this when we were talking India, but I did go for a movie there. 7:30 start time. We walked in at 7:31, and the title card was already on screen. It was very, very jarring.
Man, I think that's one of my biggest regrets about our last Japan trip, was not seeing Chainsaw Man in a Japanese theater. It was playing, and I've been getting a lot of these TikToks talking about the Japanese theater going experience. But maybe you can put that on your bucket list for next time, Rakush. But we're here, the Mistake Zone, boys. I'm in a drafting mood because we're getting ready for our Mistake Zone 2026 Fantasy Critic Draft next week. But Matt, if we were going to do a Mistake Zone anime winter season 2026 draft, since you were technically the lowest rank in the last Fantasy Critic, Matt, what's your first winter season 2026 draft of the winter?
Oh, this is a tough one, because now I need to think about, do I want to pick one that I like or one that I think is going to score well? Ooh. You know, I think I'll go with one that I like over one that I think is going to score well. Like I do with our fantasy critic. I'm going to go with Kunon the Sorcerer Can See. Guys, for people who are going to watch the show, watch 2 episodes. The first episode of this is not good.
Okay. Matt, maybe we should just do a quick refresher as well on the fact that like we have the 3 tiering system: pass, probation, must watch. The fact that you got through episode 1 and did instantly pass it, I will have a question about that in a second.
Yes.
But Kunon the Sorcerer Can't See, based on it's a visual novel and they've made an episode on it, right?
Yes. Visual novel, manga, which is like what I initially read, and then I came to the anime because I wanted to see how they were going to handle the anime. And the basic premise of this show is kind of like in the title. This is a story about Kunon, the sorcerer, who was born blind, and kind of like in this world, people who have certain like disabilities are considered to be like hero marked, and his blindness is a result of like this kind of like in-world lore about like being a hero. And like as a whole, this show is basically just a show about learning magic. And I really, really, really like the premise of the show. I had forgotten how bad the opening of this was when I had initially read the manga, and then when I watched the first episode, I was like, oh, this is they kind of handle being blind quite poorly. Like it's like, oh, if you're blind, you're like just like totally like, you know, disabled and sad about it. You can't like, you know, find joy in life. And he doesn't find joy in life until he finds magic.
Matt, I'm feeling personally attacked right now. So should I feel like this isn't a Jaren anime already off the rip.
I mean, it might be, because once you get to episode 2 is what I remember this character being from the manga, which is that this is just a character who is passionate about magic. And a thing that I really, really like about this show is that it is not a like shonen battle anime. It is literally about learning magic, because kind of a part of this story is that, you know, they have his parents like, you know, bring in a magic teacher, and because, you know, his parents are overprotective because he's blind, they want him to not, you know, learn about combat magic. He instead learns just, magic as a thing itself. And the magic in this show is less about, I'm going to make like a big fireball. And it's more about how do you change magic? Or like use magic to do just like, basically it's a show about utility magic. Like using magic to modify like the feeling of things, the taste of things, like the temperature, color, I don't know, like elasticity, stuff like that. Because one of like the kind of like first major magics that this character creates for himself is basically a water bed that is like, it's a ball of water with an elastic coating that like has an internal whirlpool and it's heated. And like, that is his like first major magical invention. And I don't know, it's just like a cool show about magic. And I think the thing that really, really seals the deal is that the main character is a fucking idiot. In like the way of, oh shit. What is the name of that movie that Julian likes about the Kung Fu dude?
Kung Fu Hustle?
No, not Kung Fu Hustle.
Kung Pao?
Yes, Kung Pao. They basically, they trained him wrong as a joke in terms of personality. His personality is just, it's okay. They tried to train him as a noble, but they did it wrong. And now he just like constantly flirts, but he doesn't know it. But it's not a harem. So like, I think that makes it better. And I don't know. This guy's, I don't know, like horny for magic and horny for women, but he like doesn't do it maliciously. It's just like a personality quirk. And I feel like it really, really lands. And I don't know. Also, Jaren, it has our girls, Akaru Kito and Sayori Hayami basically voicing the main character and his fiance. And, I am about those seiyus.
Okay. I mean, that's positive enough. But now this sounds a lot more quirky than I thought it would be just based on your kind of initial description of it.
Yeah, I really like that this isn't a shonen anime. And it like plays very well later on in the series on like the limits of what you can do with your imagination and magic. And I don't know, that like really is is what like really drew me into it.
Okay, so vibes are good is what you're saying.
Vibes are good. Get past episode 1. But I do think that for most people, it should be a like 3 episode, or like give it a 3 episode.
Does it seem like it's getting to a point where there's a long-term story to be told, or is it just sort of like a cool concept for now?
The long-term story, that kind of like connects every arc is that like he wants to create a magic that will let him see. And like every arc is just sort of slightly building upon it.
Okay.
And yeah, that's just like long-term through line.
So it's a probation for you.
I think everybody should probation it. Like I said, I came into this one from the manga because I wanted to see how it was being animated. And I know that I enjoy the story itself. And I think that, like I said, get to the second episode. Give it a second episode probation, if anything, because that's like really where the show hits its like stride, and you'll know at that point if you want to continue it or not.
Fair enough.
Okay. So this is Kunon the Sorcerer Kin. See Matt's #1 draft pick in the Mistake Zone Winter Season Anime 2026.
Arguably be a bad #1 draft pick, but
Hey, there's some teams that just don't know how to draft. It happens in all sports. So someone's got to be the Cleveland Browns.
Yeah.
Well. Yes, sports reference. I understand.
Those Cleveland Browns of that sport that I know what they do. Oh man,
yes.
Matt Alba, the Cleveland Browns of anime.
Sounds about right. Rakush, you're
That's
up.
Me.
What are you drafting this anime season?
So I'm gonna go with something that I think is a good transition from the vibes that Matt has set up from Kunon. The daily life of a part-time torturer. Now, I'm going to start my list off with a little bit of a negative note, which is that, Jaren, you were mentioning Winter 2025 not being as strong. I also kind of found that, like, as far as, like, the new series this season are concerned, there really isn't a lot of stuff that sticks out as, like, oh, man, this is like a slam dunk, like easy to recommend to people kind of thing. I think there's a lot of just sort of unique things happening. And I think Daily Life of a Part-Time Torturer was one that when I started watching it, I was kind of more impressed by the industry's ability to find new spins on old genres. And essentially what this series is it takes a look at it's kind of slice of lifey, and it takes a look at a part-time torturer that works with some professional torturers as well. It puts like this dark humor spin to the whole thing where it doesn't show you any of the actual torture itself, but it just kind of treats it as if like these people work at a cafe together or something like that. So like it's going for like this, oh, here's this like, you know, very comfy anime in a very sort of like, you know, dark industry kind of thing. And I thought it was like okay, but as I was kind of watching more series, I also kind of was questioning a little bit of like, does a series like this, does a concept like this have legs beyond just, hey, this is a cool concept? And I think this time around, one thing I definitely tried to do for anything that wasn't a must-watch for me was stick to one episode and watch the second and third episodes after the case. So that's what kind of I was planning on doing. But I feel like in the first episode, like it's just relying very heavily on sort of like the contrast between the torture and the humor as a gimmick. A lot of it is also setting up the characters that are going to be regulars throughout the series as well. So some instances kind of felt a little bit forced in this one. And yeah, I think like, honestly, like it just really comes down to like, I'm not sure this can carry a 12 episode season. Do like the decision to have all the torture be off screen, because if you're just going for the humor, it kind of makes sense. But I'm not really seeing a lot of sort of like long-term value in sticking with something like this. It was one that I'd started as a low probation, but I think I'm going to be passing on this series. Did either of you guys watch this one?
I did not.
Honestly, I feel like with these torture adjacent anime, they've usually been more on the light side, or kind of, you know, that quirky humor. You're making light of something that is really grim when you think about it. But I don't think they've ever hooked me that well, where I don't know what it is about when torture is the, you know, subject matter, or at least the framing device for a anime like this. But I never found the execution to be interesting. I know there was this one, what was it recently? Was it The Torture Princess or something along those lines?
Yeah.
Time for Torture Princess? I love that series.
Where I don't know. I watched the first episode and it just, maybe I wasn't in the right mood for it, but I just didn't vibe with it. Where is there anything from this Rakush that you could find some positives from, or is it just something that didn't really impress you by the end of it?
I think it makes me want to go watch some older series, so it's nothing that really helps its own case, right? So like, It's something where it's like I watched it and I'm like, I know it's kind of like what you said as well. Like there are other series like this that exist, even if it's not about torture. The humor is kind of applied to a genre that doesn't typically have it. I can't remember the name of this one, but there was one that had 2 seasons with like a vampire and a vampire hunter, but the vampire turns out to be like this shut-in, just like otaku style, like just gamer. I found that to be like a little bit of a charming series. I just don't see the charm in the daily life of a part-time torturer, and I think that's kind of where it didn't really hook me in the first episode. And honestly, if the season were a little bit weaker, which I know I just said that it's not the strongest season, but there are still some more probations than this one, and if it were a little bit weaker, maybe I would have given this a second episode, but I just don't see it. I don't see the value in the series.
Okay. Well, that was Rakush's first pick. I don't know, boys. I feel like we're off to some bad number 1 picks for this season, but I guess if I'm up to bat, I think for my first pick, I guess I'd go with the first anime that I did watch for this season, and that was Shiboyugi, playing death games to put food on the table, where I saw this being promoted on Netflix. I believe it's also on Crunchyroll as well. And this is, I guess, the latest in the death game genre following our protagonist Yuki. And the first episode is a Beefy Boy episode. I believe the runtime was 50 minutes in all. And we get the basic gist of what the next, I believe, 11 episodes will be, where Yuki is a death game pro. You meet all the other characters currently playing in that one death game, and then they run the gauntlet of everything you would expect from one of these anime or something of this genre. You know, you'll have your body horror tropes. You'll question humanity. You'll question who's watching these girls be put through, or who finds entertainment in these girls putting themselves through these horrors. And of course, the ultimate question at the end is, how is Yuki still sane after all this time? Just because I believe at the first episode, she's established that she's a death game pro, and that this was, I think, one of several games that she's participated in, where when it comes to the death game genre, I do think for this one, there are some interesting production choices that blend real life footage, artistic footage, blending different art styles and its use of repeating dialogue from a production standpoint. But as you kind of watch, it's one of those things where I watched the first 3 episodes, and I feel like the series so far has it sits on scenes where when you think a scene would end, it maybe runs for 3 or 4 seconds longer and just sits on a certain frame, or we see characters where there's a weird pacing to it overall. And I honestly wasn't feeling it after the first episode, where I think with a good death game piece of media in general, I guess, you want the stakes and rules of the world to be laid out respectively quickly. And I didn't get that from this anime. I think all we know by the end of the episode is that people watch these death games. The smaller amount of survivors, the bigger the payout. And then Yuki wants to win 99 games in all. Where from the first 3 episodes, they're kind of segmented off into different death games themselves. So we don't necessarily sit with the supporting characters that long. They're pretty much either dead by the end of the episode, or they move on not to see them in the next game. Where at first I wasn't going to recommend this if you're a fan of the death game genre, because it doesn't really do anything different. But I think by episodes 2 and 3, you spend even though it's technically 50 minutes, same as the first episode, I feel like you learn more about the supporting characters a bit more, and that actually gives you a bit of a relationship with them. What's up, Matt?
Sorry, Jared. All of the episodes are 50-ish minutes? Or just
no, so first one was 50, and then the 2, 3 were like 23 each. So
okay.
Even though they were both, each arc so far has been 50 minutes in time, I feel like episodes 2 and 3 together were paced better than episode 1.
I see.
Where again, I don't think it does anything innovative for this genre, and I feel like it works better when you get to sit with the supporting characters a bit longer, even though, again, it is the same amount of time you're technically spending with them in episode 1. But from what I see, this second arc might be another episode or 2 where, I don't know, it's hard to recommend if you watched a lot of this genre personally, but at the same time, I feel like you might be able to find something from the protagonist Yuki herself, where by the end of episode 3, you get to see how petty she can be. You get to see some of the fangs that she might have, which I did appreciate more. And it's that balance between someone who's a pro at these type of games versus that arrogance that also comes from being a pro, where I hope they're able to explore a bit more and flesh out the world a bit more moving forward. But again, it doesn't do anything new. But Matt, if I had to be honest, Yuki as a character reminds me of, get ready to roll your eyes. She reminds me a lot of Zeta from Hololive Indonesia. And if you watch the dub, her voice actor, her English seiyuu kind of also reminds me of Zeta as well. So I think what's also pushing me forward is I'm just pretending that this is Zeta.
There's a HoloLive Indonesia.
Mm-hmm.
Rakush, follow the mistake zone lore. That's my favorite branch of HoloLive, where Shiboyugi playing death games to put food on your table. What's the mid tier of your list, Rakush? I think I would put it there,
like probation.
The
3-episode watch probation.
Yeah, I think by episode 3 you'll know if you want to continue or not. But I do warn you that if episode 3 proper, but if you just watch episode 1 and 2, I think it's a harder sell than if you actually watch the 3rd episode. So
I feel like,
I guess if you're a fan of Zeta, you might find something into it.
Yeah, I feel like death games as a genre is just kind of becoming a little bit more, especially like you mentioned, like this being advertised for Netflix and stuff. I feel like Netflix just has like a real of like just fascination with it between Squid Games. I mentioned Last Samurai Standing when we were doing the year-end lists. Like there's this anime here. It just sort of seems like a trope that they really love kind of going back to, this battle royale style stuff. So
yep.
Yeah, it's a lot of things out there.
Is this more battle royale? Because like when I was watching the previews of it, which I want to say I really really like the art style of this anime.
Yep.
But like, is this more battle royale, or like the vibe I was getting is more so something like Danganronpa or that type of thing?
It's not a battle royale, but it's more so in the vein of a escape room. So essentially, the first 2 episodes, or first 3 episodes, I guess, the 2 games that they're playing, it's essentially Yuki wakes up and she has to escape this area with as many survivors as she can. So, and of course, you play into the psychology of everything of, okay, who has the best interest for themselves versus the group as a whole? Can they trust people that they just met? What's everyone's motivations? But again, I don't feel like you sit with the supporting characters enough, where I feel like I only was really interested in Yuki by the end of episode 3. So I don't know if that marks a good introduction to a character when it takes that, like, technically 2 hours for me to be fully invested in a character. And if there's one thing that also should criticize, this might be a spoiler, the imagery of Yuki carrying another player on her back because the other player is missing 3 of their 4 limbs. The fact that it's used twice so far means, I don't know, like, it just that repeated use of that image again is, I don't know if that's deliberate, but I feel like it's so noticeable where it's almost like, is this just going to be a thing for all the different death games? But yeah, probation period, at least episode 3, if this is, to see if this is your thing. But I don't know if it will vibe with everyone. But to Matt's point, I think production itself is the strongest part, and I think the OP is a good vibe as well.
True.
But Matt, back to you. Our first round picks are over. Matt, let's try to be better at this. Matt, what's your second pick?
Okay. You know what?
For this season.
Okay. I know this isn't how the game works, but I'm going to put my counter pick in now.
Okay.
Which is my counter pick is going to be Jack of all trades and Party of none. Did either of you watch this?
No.
Okay. Don't.
Oh no.
Oh man, guys, I was actually really excited about this one when I was watching it initially, because this falls into the genre of rising superstar party drops the main character from their party because they perceive the main character to be useless. And of course, like, with that style of story, I don't know, I'm assuming you guys don't read that kind of trash because you have better standards than I do. But, a really common part of this trope is that the people who, drop them are just like arrogant and awful. And this one subverted that. Like, it was like a very kind of like understandable drop where it's basically like the main character is basically the party support buffer. And his like buff numbers just like are not as good as like a standard person, because the way that they had, initially formed their party, he was originally like a swordsman, and then like just kind of with like the meta of the world, they needed somebody to be like a buffer, and since there was another swordsman in the party who was better than him, he ended up having to take that job.
Right.
And kind of like in the story, I guess like how would do in anime, the guy's like, oh, now that I'm free from this party, I am gonna go be I'm gonna go back to being a swordsman, but I'm gonna be able to like buff myself and stuff. And I was initially very excited for this because like kind of like Kunon, it seemed like, hey, this is a character who doesn't worry about battle magic. They are worrying about utility magic, and they had kind of established that this guy was like not the best enchanter. It just like he used his enchantments smartly, and y'all, that falls apart by like episode 3. He's like pulling like, oh, we're doing enchantments that like go 50 times whatever like anybody else is doing, but it only lasts for 1 second, right. And that's the trick. And I don't know, that reveal kind of crushed me, and I like totally like fell out of interest in this story once I got that.
So, same question as with Kunon. You did get to a later episode than episode 1, even though this is a past. Like, what kind of kept you in the series, I guess?
It was kind of just like that draw of like, oh, I am interested in seeing how this character's gonna be smart about their powers. And once I got to how it's not smart, he's just like, it's just an OP version of the power, but like, there's like this like limit on it in a really dumb way. I lost a lot of interest in it. Yeah. No.
So is this a hard pass for you, Matt?
Yeah, I think I think this is I'm gonna create a new tier, which is below drop, which is don't start. I'm gonna put it there.
This is damn.
But is there anything positive you can at least say about it, or is this just something that
I don't know? This is like a very It started when it started. It looked like it wasn't going to be a formulaic one of these, but it's a formulaic one of these.
That's a shame.
Yeah.
Okay. Maybe the better question is, if someone wants the same vibe at the very least, what would you recommend to watch over this?
Don't watch this genre. This genre is all trash.
Okay.
Oh man, I don't know. I keep like digging into this genre, hoping for something, but it's never good. There's one about like I don't know if there's any anime for this genre out that are good, but man, there's a couple of mangas that are good for this.
Yo, bro, it's that meme where like the person that keeps digging and the person that stops digging right before they hit the goal, diamonds. You just gotta wait till next season, bro.
I'm still digging. I'm still digging. I know I'm wading through trash, but like maybe one day.
Matt, that just makes the treasure all the more sweeter when you do hit. Okay, but Rakush,
yeah.
What's your next? What's your second round draft pick,
guys? It's been a little bit of a negative start to this season's sort of like list, and I think the next one I kind of want to go with is
you gotta keep it going, right?
No, I think I want to kind of bring the mood up just a little bit here with a comedy series, High School Kimengumi. This one was an interesting one. To be honest with you, when I was looking at the winter roundup, this was not on my radar, but then I saw the poster for it, and it gave off a lot of Cromartie High School vibes in a way that was just kind of drawing me to it. And yeah, so I gave the first episode a watch, and it's a gag anime. It's the stuff you'd expect from a gag anime, and it's honestly pretty decent. I don't think it's something that you would compare to, say, like City the Animation or any of those kind of series. I don't think it's at that tier. But I think Cromartie High is kind of like the name that keeps coming back. And I don't know if either of you watched Cromartie High, and it's like a mid-2000s series.
Yeah, I did.
So, okay. So, like, you kind of get the vibe that this one might be going for a little bit. The first episode speeds through a lot. Like, it's breakneck pace. Like, it starts with the core characters in high school, or sorry, middle school. You'd think, oh yeah, this is gonna be about them being in middle school, and by the end of the episode, like, they're already in high school, and you're like, well, okay, like, it's going for some crazy shit there. And I think the reason this kind of sticks out to me a little bit this season, at least, is I don't actually think there's any other gag series that's out there, and so I think like it just kind of has like a unique sort of placement in this season, that if you just want something that is drastically different from everything else that's currently out, I think this is a fun watch. The characters are also pretty endearing. I am curious to see how the humor hits once everyone is also settled into their roles. It's always sort of like, the first episode is a little bit of you can tell it's like a feeling out process, right? Like, the VAs are getting settled in. They might have some chemistry from past episode or like past series, but it's still a new character and it's still a new series, and they're still trying to get that tempo down right. And the tempo is already pretty good in the first episode, so it's more about just sort of like continuing to watch it to see how it improves as well. I will say in other seasons, this might have just been a regular probation for me, but this is it's a high probation, close to a must watch. Again, because of just sort of like, it's a good palate cleanser for some of the other things that are out this season. Now, what we didn't really cover at the start of the episode was the returning series, right? And it's a lot of great returning series. I don't watch Frieren, but Frieren has a season 2. Jujutsu Kaisen, Calling Games arc is currently going on. Real brain mush season, that one, although it looks kind of great. Hell's Paradise from Mappa is also out. So, like, there's a lot of those kind of series that are currently returning that are great, but a little bit on the serious side. And so just kind of having this kind of series like High School Kimengumi as like something to cut through sort of like the constant, like, pay attention, especially if you're watching JJK, like, you got to pay attention, otherwise you're going to lose the plot. And so that's why to me it's a bit of a high probation. I would love to see kind of if the humor can continue throughout the rest of the season. I don't know if it's a 1 core or 2 core, but yeah, really, really happy this exists this season, because there really isn't anything else like it so far.
All right. Bringing it back up, Rakush.
Well, all good. I don't believe either of you have watched this one, right?
No. But
it genuinely was under the radar. Like, only reason I watched it is because I saw the poster, not because I saw it on AniDB or whatever, AniList, whatever we use, but yeah.
Okay. So now that Rakush has brought up the vibes just a bit, I think for my second pick, not if I'm going to harken back to 2019, I'm always chasing the high of a good Demon Daughter adjacent, production. And I think one thing that caught my attention when I was scrolling through what came out this season was the Demon King's daughter is too kind. And I think this is an anime where, one, it has musical sections where I thought, oh, this is probably like a kid's anime. And boys, I think this is really a kid's anime. Where this is, from what the title is, it gives you everything right at the rip. There's a demon king who has taken over this continent, this country, this region. He has enslaved all the humans, and he is a doting father that has a really cute daughter. And even though his, right-hand woman is trying to make sure his daughter grows up to be this cutthroat demon, just the power of cute anime baby girls overpowers all. And it's one of those animes where it's just really sweet. It's just really cute. It's just an easy watch. And I think it's, that formulaic trope of they're trying to present, hey, we want this girl to do something bad, but she's going to flip it and everyone is better off, by the end of the episode. Where, again, this won't be everyone's cup of tea. But if you're just looking for something that's easygoing, that has good vibes, that has little musical numbers here and there, I do recommend it in that. But again, it's the junk food equivalent. You're not going to get anything out of it, really. It doesn't flip the genre in any way. I think the saving grace is the big sister character, Jahi. And just to see how her efforts to try to quote unquote corrupt the demon daughter and her failing, it gives me that really good unfortunate character energy that Matt, Rakush, you both know that I love the unfortunate character.
Yeah.
So just to see that all come together is a lot of fun. And yeah, I don't know, if you're just looking again for something sweet, give this a watch, but at the same time, it won't be everyone's cup of tea, especially if you're looking for something with a lot more substance. But I don't know. It's a good time. I've watched the first 4 episodes, so I feel like by the end of episode 1, you'll know if you'll like this anime or not. And if you're into something comfy, you probably will stick through it. But again, it's nothing too high priority, but I liked it. And if it's any consolation, Jahi is voiced by Ayaka Ohashi, who also does Vodka from Uma Musume. So take that for what you will as well. But yeah, Rakush, Matt, where do you guys fall into that, cute sugar kid anime genre? Is that something you sometimes second screen, or is that just kind of polar opposite to what you're looking for in an anime?
I think for me, it really depends on how well that sort of thing hits its comedy. Because just like I've said a lot on these anime episodes, like the comedy is like a very important thing for me in this type of anime. And I can't second screen anime because like, do you second screen dubs or do you second screen subbed anime?
When I say second screen, I mean something that you're not fully invested in, but at the same time you can
it's just
okay, not necessarily second screening. Yeah, just kind of on in the background, where it's one of those things where if you miss something, you're not, rewinding back. You're still getting the general gist of it, but you'll still keep on with it.
Guys, I've never second screened anime. That's always main screen.
Okay.
Well, yeah, because you watch it at 1.5 speed and skip through it. You don't need to.
So I have to concentrate. I have to concentrate on it.
But how about you, Rakush? Where do you fall into these sugar animes, I guess?
I think it's a little bit hit or miss for me. I don't think like the just overwhelmingly sweet animes work without a certain art style and a certain pacing to it. Like if it is just sort of like that almost like I don't know if this is a great description, but like the poppy kind of like vibe to it. It's not always for me, but sometimes it works. We'll put a pin in that, especially with the segue that you made. But yeah, I think this like the way you're describing this one isn't necessarily something that I would enjoy watching, especially like the combination of the genre and stuff that it's in. I don't think it would be for me.
Yeah. And again, this won't be for everyone, but if you're into that comfy, poppy, lighthearted vibe, the Demon King's Daughter is too kind. But yeah, it is formulaic. All the episodes play the same. What I do like at the very least is during the ED, it is a bit different. Well, they'll highlight all the characters that are shown throughout the episode, which I always think is a nice touch when it comes to OPs or EDs. But yeah, check it out if this is your kind of thing. But again, one episode to see if it's for you. And if it is, I think that is something that you can kind of keep it on. But Matt, now we're in the third round. What are you picking?
Ooh, okay. Oh man. I wish I could make like consciously make better picks, but I'm gonna go with maybe another, for me at least, another middling pick in terms of the anime. I'm gonna go with Tune Into the Midnight Heart. Did you guys watch this?
I did. The first episode.
Jaren?
Matt, is there an Ichika equivalent? Because that will determine if I watch this or not.
Oh, there is someone who has an Ichika feel, but I would say it's like a 60% Ichika feel.
I don't know, Matt. For us, gamers, TM, we all know 60% is a bad. If it's not 90 or up, then what's the point?
What's the point? What's the point? But this is a series that I decided to check out because, again, this is like a manga that I really, really like. Jaren, I think read the manga. This is honestly, I've talked about this on the show before. This is basically like QQ, but with 4 people. The basic synopsis of this series is that our main character, when he was, I believe, in middle school, used to listen to a audio-only streamer, and he basically wanted this streamer to like reach her dreams and goals of like working in like whatever industry she wanted. And he's always been trying to find this particular person, and the way that he, I guess, like sort of reunites with this person is that there is a broadcasting club in his high school. Of course, he hears a voice and it's like, oh, that's definitely her. Goes to the broadcasting room and there's 4 girls in here. And, at the end of the episode, through, usual anime hijinks, the old, like the person who used to listen to it in middle school who had stopped screaming basically starts to stream up again and says, hey, it's like good to see you again, or like some shit like that. And, of course, from here on, harem hijinks ensue, and I don't know. As a whole, I like the series. But when I looked at it as an anime, I was kind of questioning the anime quality itself.
Yeah.
It was kind of rough. The content, I think, all still lands in the same way that it did in the manga, but the execution of the animation was like kind of, to me, unfortunately, a little bit stiff. Rakush, I'm assuming you felt the same way.
Yeah, there was just something off about it. It kind of gave off the same vibes as like One Dance from last season, where there's just some stuff that felt off about the production in a way that tells me that they're maybe working on limited resources. Like, the note that I wrote down for the animation on this series is that a lot of the zoom shots have this like weird also up-res pixelation to it. So they're not actually animating it at like different depths. They've just kind of made like one wide shot and just kind of like done an up-res version of things. Yeah. So like, yeah, there's definitely like something off about it too. And Matt, maybe like you might speak to this next part a little bit as well, but like I think the overall production was a little bit off. Like even the voice editing kind of felt a bit weird, where like it felt like the VAs recorded at a different time. Like the editing did not seem like it was like they're in the same room.
That part I didn't really like process, I guess, myself. But like I think I can understand where you're coming from, kind of thinking back to the episode.
Yeah.
But yeah, like I do have to say, like, unfortunately, for a series that I was really, really, really looking forward to seeing that like hit an anime, it I guess like extra is unfortunate for me because I don't know, I really wanted it to be the QQ of this generation, but or the season, but I don't know.
Always chasing that high, Matt.
Yeah, but with the quality that they put out in this, at least in the very first episode, I think it. I hate to say it, I think it might flounder, but I really, really hope that it'll draw people towards the manga, because the manga is like really good. The art in the manga, honestly, is like tiers above the art that they decided to use in the anime, and I really, really like this cast. The cast is like actually like very, very good, and I'm hoping that if this does get a season 2, that the season 2 is they pull a reverse One Punch Man.
I think I'm on the other side with even like the plot of this one. Like I understand that like if you're a fan of like the genre or like of harem series, is like there's more to this. I really thought the concept was really cool. This idea of telling a story about trying to find like your crush based on just sound. Like there is something very cool about that description itself. But I think like I was kind of hoping it would go more in the direction of, say, like an Insomniacs After School or something like that, and less in the direction of a harem. And even just kind of like the way the first episode was kind of paced and built out and stuff, like it gave off more dating sim vibes than it did like a good story vibe. And I think like ultimately like the concept sounds really cool. I just it kind of sucks that like if you're not a fan of like say the harem genre in the series and stuff, it kind of makes the concept more shallow to me.
Yeah, I can see that, but like, yeah, no, like this is definitely 100% like a harem anime. But I think the thing that like makes this for me particularly strong is that the main character isn't a fucking pushover. The main character is just so fucking big headed in this anime that I actually really love him for it.
That's your kink, right? Gotcha.
That's my kink. Yes.
I remember that.
Don't anime shame me.
I remember this because that came.
We don't yuck each other's yums here, Rakush.
I'm not yucking yums. I am fully encouraging him to be all about this. I just remember that because I remembered the segment from one of the previous anime recaps that Jaren's still upset about the Watari-kun segment.
Yeah.
Yeah. 3-episode watches anime, you guys. 3-episode watches anime. If the animation production isn't something that like I don't know doesn't stick out to you as like being really weird, I think you might enjoy this anime if you enjoy harems in general.
Yeah, I think
it's manga must read, Matt.
Mangas must read. I think manga. Jaren, I really think you should check out the manga. Like genuinely, no goof. I think you should check out the manga.
Okay.
Yeah, I think probation's about the right thing for like, is this your kind of genre? Then go ahead.
Yeah.
If you already know that this is not your genre, I would say it's a pass.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Actually, I think we talked about this on the show previously, Matt, but Rakush, when you watch an anime first and then go to the manga, or vice versa, how does the anime itself influence how you perceive a character's voice in your head when you go to the manga?
I'm basically hearing the voice of the VA, right? So like once you've heard the voice, I think it's kind of locked in for me a little bit.
Okay.
I don't necessarily know if I have like different voices for different characters in my head if I go manga first and anime second. So that's an interesting one. It's not something I've ever really fully thought through. But if I'm going anime to manga, yeah, like that's the voice I hear.
Right. And I guess final question to both you and Matt. Have you ever gone from manga to anime and then have a character's voice be something 100% you weren't down with?
Yeah.
Yeah. Quite often.
Any recent examples, or?
I feel like some of the side characters in Chainsaw Man wouldn't be the voices that I would have given them, but like I think I've just gotten like I'm more okay with them now, kind of thing.
Okay.
Yeah, Dandadan I think is another one where it's happening more frequently as well. But again, like I think it's like good casting. It's just not the voices that I would have heard in my mind. But
yeah. I think I go back to the example a lot. Milam from Slime did not have the voice that I expected her to.
Right?
Like,
yeah.
Not that her voice is bad. It's just like not what I was expecting.
Actually, final question, Matt, for Tune Into the Midnight Heart. Since you did go from manga to anime, and this is such a voice centric anime, did we get it right for your girls, or are you just okay with them?
Honestly, I'm kind of just okay with them. Okay. But I don't know if that's like thinking back on it now, a case of they didn't pick the right voices, or maybe the quality was just bad.
Right. Okay. So I guess Tune Into the Midnight Heart if this is your genre, or just read the manga is what I'm getting. But Rakush, third round pick. What do you got?
I'm gonna go with a series called Scum of the Brave. Scum of the Brave is surprisingly a 24 episode series that is currently going on. It's based off a light novel, apparently. I'm going to try to describe this a little bit because I found the first episode to be a little bit like you get like the overarching stuff, but I had a bit of a tough time kind of following the sort of like the sides, let's say, right? So in the mid-21st century, Tokyo's mafia can turn into ether-enhanced demon lords, and braves must hunt them down. Yashiro, the Grim Reaper, reluctantly takes a new apprentice named Aki Chogomine, a high school girl training to be a brave. He soon finds himself dragged into one troublesome case after another. So, he's not an actual Grim Reaper. I think that's just sort of like a nickname that he's gotten. And, again, like, I it's an interesting series in that like I think it's a very vibrantly built world, but one that sometimes gets a little bit too busy to follow, at least through the first episode. Um, there are some things that are uncomfortably relatable, like the grown-up hunters. They all kind of hang out at this like bar, and anytime they need to kill time, they start playing trading cards. I don't play the trading cards, but I do kind of relate to, say, like just playing a board game at like, one of the bubble tea spots that I frequent and shit. So like that was like, we really are this age now. Um, Outside of that, like, look, it's fine. It just, I don't think it was for me. I think it kind of falls in the same sort of category as like part-time torturers stuff. The music and concept feel very much like something you would get from the mid 2000s when there was like what I would consider an anime boom, where like they were just making anything and everything. The character designs are okay, but something feels lacking in them, and I cannot quite pinpoint what exactly it's lacking. But all of that kind of leads to like, I don't know if the characters have a memorable look. Like everyone just kind of looks like they belong in another series. The exception to the, well, not the exception to the rule. The example to this being, there's a bartender in this bar that they play cards in that looks like a retired judge man from Yu-Gi-Oh! So it's just like a lot of that kind of stuff where like I'm not really thinking about this series as I'm watching it. I'm thinking about other things as I'm watching it. And so like there was no real like convincing hook to anything that happened in the first episode. As far as like the concept is concerned, pretty standard, right? Like you have demon hunters, you have demons. It's in almost like this futuristic Tokyo setting that like you've seen in a bunch of animes before. You get powers through injecting yourself with some drugs, so I'm sure there's going to be some story there that comes up, but honestly, not much more to say about this one. Did either of you watch this series?
I did not.
It was something on my radar, but I didn't pull the trigger on it this week.
Probably for the better.
That's unfortunate. I
don't think it's as bad as like the Jack of all trades, party of none description that Matt shared.
Oh man.
I just don't think it's of any consequence. Like, ultimately, it just sort of feels inconsequential, but it's also not comfy in a way that, like, makes it okay to play in the back. Like, even, like, sort of like how you describe Demon King's daughter, that series, right? Like, I don't know if there's any value in kind of letting this play in the background. So, yeah, I don't know. This is a pass for me. To be honest, like, I don't really know what the hook would be for anybody for this one. I think it just is, it's neither bad or good. It just sort of exists, and that's why I'm just having a tough time recommending it to anyone.
Okay. Any positives at all, or just skip for now?
I mean, it's not bad. It's just not good, right? Okay. So like it's the reason I picked a 3 out of 5 is it genuinely is the most mid of the series. Like it's the halfway mark of our list. It's the most mid of the series, so it's almost fitting that it's literally the halfway point.
All right, fair. So Scum of the Brave, it's mid. Rakush, put it on the box. Put it on the back of the Blu-ray.
Wait, so that was a pass or a 3-episode mid?
No, that's a pass for me. Okay. Listen, if I see something that is bad, I will at least give it a few episodes. And I keep going back to One Punch Man because season 3 was one of the worst things I've ever watched in my life. I watched 6 episodes of that. And a big reason I watched 6 episodes of that is because there is just something about watching a train wreck happen in real time.
Oh, yeah.
That is morbidly fascinating, right? There's nothing about Scum of the Brave that even kind of gets me to the point where, like, I would want to give it 3 episodes. To be honest, I feel like I've spent too many minutes on this series.
Okay, fair. I think moving for my third pick, I'm trying to figure out where I should go if I want to. I guess since we're kind of in the middle, I'll go with a anime that. So for all of these, I've watched at least 2 episodes, but for Journal with Witch, this is the one I've only watched 1 episode so far. So I think Rakush, Matt, what's the category where you're interested, but you don't have enough information to go on if you can fully lock in your decision.
That's probation.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I think Journal with Witch passes my probation right now because I do want to see where this goes. And I think of the 5 anime that I watched this for this episode, this is the most serious, or not super serious, but this is the heaviest of the 5 that I watched, where I think the general synopsis for this is we have 2 central characters, Asa being the 15-year-old girl and her aunt, Makio. And this is a story of Asa unfortunately losing her parents, both her parents, and then living with her somewhat introverted hermit, I believe, writer aunt. And it's going to be one of the stories of, this found family coming to terms with loss and grief. And I think that's one thing that stood out for episode 1 is how do you handle grief internally and as someone who might not have the best relationship with the one you lost. And I think that's the thing that stuck out to me for both these characters, for both Asa, the daughter, and Makio, the sister of the parents that are gone, just because how they both approach loss. I think, slight spoilers, Makio straight up says, I hated your mother. And from the little bits and bobs that we do get throughout this episode, I'm not sure if Asa is actually their daughter or there was some sort of, not necessarily strain, but not full relationship that you would expect to come from there. And I think coming together, navigating through grief and how to sort through these feelings through journaling is something that I actually came to appreciate by the end of the episode. And I typically do like these found family animes or stories, whether it be an anime or a manga, just to see how these 2 characters who don't necessarily have anything to do with one another are suddenly forced into this situation and how they navigate going forward. Where I also do want to shout out Asa, her Seiyu, Fukomori. I believe, according to my anime list, this is her first major role as well.
Oh, wow.
Where, again, I want to see how her delivery is throughout the first, through the rest of the season. But I think for the first episode, it was on the, I thought she did a really good job. So I'm really excited to see where it goes from there. And I think what really sealed the deal for me is, Makio is presented to be this introverted, this kind of closed off character. And then her speech about wanting to take Asa in front of all of her extended families, I think that hit really hard. Where, again, if you're into this genre, if you're into something a bit more on the serious side, I do recommend at least the first episode of Journal with Witch. But yeah, this is definitely something I want to continue throughout this season. But so, Matt, Rakush, was this something you checked out this season or so far as well?
I did not.
So Jaren, Journal with Witch is actually my favorite new series this season, and I really wanted to talk about it because everything you kind of spoke about were things that hooked me. And at least one series a season for the last couple of years, there's been a show where they talk about sort of like found family, but a lot of times it's done in the form of like, hey, you found this like stray raccoon that thinks it's a dog, or like you found this giant cat, or like this cat turns into a giant, and the title of the series goes, Masterful Cat is depressed again today, and like there's always some sort of like thing that hides the true sort of underlying themes and like the nature of things. But the thing with Journal with Witch is there isn't really any of that. It is 2 human beings that are going to be living together, and one of the human beings, being 15 years old, is at a very formative age, having experienced the kind of grief that frankly you could be 65 and wouldn't want to experience, right? So the concept of loss is, in that sense, like, just a very powerful thing. And so there really isn't anything to hide the grief behind. Like, the character designs are beautiful, and like, you know, it's really well done, and like just the way they've kind of like, you know, built the series out and like the world out and stuff, like it's a soft beauty to everything. It contains though this underlying sadness from breaking out, right? And then you have moments like at the end of episode 1 where Asa, like, you know, kind of envisions herself in like a desert almost, and like there is sort of like this beautiful transition between these moments as well, and there's a very believable element to this series. Like a lot of, I know you're only on episode 1, so I won't try to spoil what happens in like upcoming episodes, but like the way they handle some of these things is very natural, and like the way they handle sort of like how the grief of loss can hit you at the most random times, and it could hit you with like the most random things as well, and it is very powerful in that sense. It's not an easy watch by any stretch of the imagination, but I think it's a good watch. I think also just kind of like focusing more on the presentation of things as well. Love the opening. I really like the methodical use of music as well. I think like it's not overdone to convey emotions. I think the moments are allowed to kind of speak for themselves in a way that tells me that the team working on this really understands understands what they're working with and what emotions that they're trying to convey and what emotions they're, you know, adapting to anime as well. So it's really great like that. I think like the other thing I would say is like, only going off the translations, of course, like the way that the dialogue is, at least like the translations for the dialogue, it's very beautifully written, and it allows the visuals to come across a little bit more vividly in a lot of these moments as well. And yeah, this one just really stood out to me as sort of like, I didn't know what to expect based on the name, because when you hear like a name like Journal with Witch, without seeing any visuals for this, you think, oh, it's like some like fantasy thing. No, it's just a very real story about dealing with grief and also dealing with like unexpected situations outside of the grief. I think how they handle like what you described about like, you know, not getting along with family and things like that. I think it's really interesting. Yeah, I'm here for the full run of this one. Like, this is definitely one of my favorite series of the new season.
Yep, no, definitely. And I think 2 more from me as well. I know I did wanted to shout out Fukumori for her role as Asa, but I also do want to shout out Miyuki Sawashiro, who also voices Makio the ant. Just because, again, for this more secluded hermit type character, for her to balance that with the speech at the funeral towards the end of episode 1, just really well done, really good delivery. So I think both these central characters are voice acted really well, at least to me. You mentioned the sand, or the sand imagery, the use of the desert, and Matt got to break this one out, but there's this one transition from the journal to the desert that is so well done that I thought, damn, didn't know the people behind The Promised Neverland also produced Journal with a Witch.
Classic.
But while we're on the topic of found family, there's one manga that I've been always meaning to discuss, maybe more at length, and maybe I will in the future, but Journal with Witch really reminded me of one of my favorite manga, which is Living with My Brother's Wife. And it's kind of this, it's in the same vibe of, you know, two found family, two, in this case, sister-in-laws, having to come together and support one another and kind of go through the different trials and tribulations of dealing with grief, finding support, and ultimately letting go. Where Living with My Brother's Wife gets, it's a lot more intense. And again, I've only watched the first few episodes of Journal with Witch, so I'm really curious to see how heavy it gets. But again, if you're into this genre, if you're looking for something more serious, that really navigates how we deal with grief. I also recommend checking out the manga, Living with My Brother's Wife. There were definitely moments reading through that entire series that gave me pits in my stomach, where I'm really curious to see how big those pits get with Journal with Witch. But at the same time, there's something almost beautiful about those pits in your stomach when you're dealing with these topics. And I think as I get older, not to make it more grim, I feel like these stories are the ones that attract me a lot more. I don't know what that says about how I'm perceiving life at the moment, but trying to see the beauty, trying to see the relationships in something so tragic is something that I feel like I'm always going to gravitate towards. And at least with the first episode of Journal with Witch, as Rakush said, beautifully done. Can't wait to watch more, and definitely keep an eye out if this sounds like it's for you. But now we're kind of going to the home stretch. Matt, what's your fourth round draft pick?
Honestly, this should have been my first draft pick, and I should have done it then before you guys went into like a whole thing about grief. Because now I feel bad transitioning from grief into boom boom swords and magic.
Oh, that's the one you're going with. Okay.
Because I'm gonna go with Sentenced to Be a Hero. Did either of you watch this?
No, I saw that it wasn't an isekai, and I was like, maybe I'll watch it, but then I didn't watch it. Is it not an isekai?
It is not an isekai. I think that this is the best animated thing for this season that isn't a returning anime.
Interesting.
This first episode of Sentenced to Be a Hero is one of those hour-long episodes, and it looks like a shonen action movie. The basic premise is that, they kind of warp what the word hero here is, but in this world, a hero is somebody who has done like a major crime, and now you are cursed to be a frontline soldier in this kind of like sword and sorcery world.
Oh, this anime. Okay,
yes,
yeah.
And one of the, I guess, like major things about this is like, hey, like as a hero, you are basically a slave to the government, and every time you die, they will like you are one of the people who can be resurrected, and like one of the prices to being resurrected is that you like slowly lose your memories and your humanity every time you do it. And honestly, just like everything, like I guess like outside of that is like a very kind of like standard sword and sorcery premise. Like it is, hey, it is a war of humans against like an encroaching demon army. Their goal is like to defeat the demon lords with the help of like the goddesses and the technology that they have on their side. Like that is like honestly very standard, but the execution of this anime is, I think, top tier. The art style, I think like Rakush kind of said this about Scum of the Brave, but like I think that this looks like a mid-2000s shonen, but like in a good way, or even like an earlier, like even like a 90s shonen, like in a really good way in terms of the character design and like the world design, but it has like a modern day level of like animation quality, which like honestly, if you are looking for a shonen anime, I think like this is the new one to watch.
How would you describe it in comparison to, say, something like Shield Hero? Because that's one that everybody hyped up that I never got into.
Yeah, okay. I think it is like comparable in action to like Shield Hero. It is not as, like, oh, grim, or like, like self-grim, like, oh, everybody betrayed me type thing. Like the main character is kind of like a, not I don't want to say like sad boy. Sad boy isn't the right word, but like he is like, a more so like a grizzled war vet type dude who has been on like the front lines a really long time. And I don't know, like I don't want to like talk too much about the, I guess, like story and plot, because like it is very it is okay. The main story and plot is like very standard. I don't think it's like pushing any boundaries there, but I think the quality of this is just so good, and the execution is so good. That first episode, honestly, if you told me that this was like an anime original movie, I would believe you. And I did, this is a must watch for me. So I did watch the episodes 2 and 3. There is a noticeable quality drop in 2 and 3's. Okay, it's weird because like the animation is still all as fluid, I think, but it's just that it's less detailed until you get into a fight, and then they just like crank it back up again. As they do in shonens. But this is honestly, I think, like a top-notch anime. If you are looking for a shonen, like a new shonen, this is where you should go.
Interesting. I might give this a watch then based on what you're describing. But
yeah,
there is just something about these series that like just feels a little bit... I don't want to use the word unremarkable because that puts it at the same level as like, say, like Scum of the Brave, but just something doesn't hook me.
Yeah, if you're looking for, like I said, like some magnificent new story, this isn't like where you're going to look. But I do think that just on its quality alone, you should give this a check out if you are at all interested in action.
I'll give it a shot.
Okay. Rakush?
It is me next, isn't it?
What anime are you giving you a shot for your fourth pick?
Well, you see, guys, we talked about how sort of like as we get older, certain topics are more of interest to us. And there's one that I found of certain interest to me, and it is the slice of life laundromat anime, Wash It All Away.
Oh man, that's a good name for a laundry anime.
Yeah, that's a good name.
It's a really good one. Yeah. I don't know if that's just like the English name or if the Japanese version works as well, but it really is good. It's it's one of those like slice of life series that looks at a certain specific topic. Like the mangaka, the author does like a ton of research on something and decides that that's kind of like the story we're going to tell about like a community or a town through like this one person that is like the central protagonist almost. And that's really just what this series is. There is something about this that like, do you guys know what I mean if I describe the main character as being one of those fancy bartenders?
Yeah.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, there's like a certain element of that with this main character. And I think it's like how she kind of like talks about like, washing a suit and like describing that like, oh, you don't have to dry clean it. I have this special way of doing it and stuff. It's like she almost kind of serves like, the community. If this were a bar, yeah, like she would just be like someone they call like master, like, just like, please.
It's like a person who's very dedicated to the craft, basically.
Yes. Exactly.
Yeah.
It's kind of like interesting in that sense. One thing that did kind of catch me off guard about this series is it has a weird sensuality to it that like I don't think needs to exist for a series like this. And there's like mild fan service, and by mild I mean like it really isn't fan service. It's just sort of like, oh, there's like a scene of her contemplating something in the bath, right? So like there's like certain elements of it where I'm like, oh, this is just there for the sake of being there kind of thing. But then also like the way they animate her like actually say like ironing a suit or like, something along those lines. It's just, like, there's just like a certain sort of like smoothness or sensuality to it that just like really kind of threw me off guard there. The character, like the main character, is also like, I don't know how else to describe this. Maybe I'm just using the term Mary Sue a little bit inaccurately. Like, by definition, a Mary Sue would come across as insufferable sometimes. This character is not insufferable by any stretch of the imagination. But this character knows everything. And there is just something about, like, a know-it-all that isn't necessarily the most, like, welcoming to me at times. And this is kind of one of those series. So I think, like, overall, bunch of good, bunch of bad. This is absolutely textbook probation for me. Like, I will give it, like, 2 more episodes. But, yeah, I'm just, it's similar thing. Like, does the concept carry it through, say, like, 12 episodes? Like, are there going to be side characters that show up that are just as interesting to kind of follow along with? Like, how much do they expand on the story? Another description I would make, she is the chef from Midnight Diner. That's kind of the vibe I get with this one as well. And if they make side characters that are as appealing as the ones in Midnight Diner, I'll stick around. But for now, it's a probation.
Okay. Rakush.
What up?
So our girl, Wakana, main character, voiced by Sayumi Susushiro. How do you think her voice acting is for Wash It Away?
Not something I was paying attention to a lot. Like,
Okay.
I think a lot of times, like, to be fair to the voice actor, like, a lot of times it's not something I'm actively listening for, but it does stick out to me when it's really good. And it does stick out to me when the editing is off, like in the case of Midnight Heart. It didn't really stand out to me in a way here that was like phenomenal or bad or anything like that. I think she fits the character well, which, like, as long as you're not questioning if this voice belongs, I think that's good enough. So, yeah.
Okay. We'll put a pin on Sayumi just
Sure.
because for my fourth pick, she also voices one of the central characters in the Holy Grail of Eris. And this is a play on the villainous genre, which is something that I typically like the villainous genre, but this is less an isekai and more of a more so a murder mystery kind of take on the genre itself, where we follow, I guess, one of the main characters, Constance, who is this noble, from a poorer background, who's marrying into royalty just because her family is kind of struggling right now. And Matt, Rakush, stop me if you've heard this before. We have our quote unquote peasant girl marrying into royalty, who during a gala, is being framed by her fiance's love or mistress. And I guess the central plot point of the anime comes out here is before the ball itself, Constance lets in this woman in red named Scarlet, voiced by Sayumi Susushiro. And it turns out that Scarlet was a royal from, I believe, 10 years ago who was framed and in turn beheaded and publicly executed. And in exchange for Scarlet's ghost helping out Constance, in this big situation, Scarlet asked Constance to essentially uncover the conspiracy behind why she was executed, behind who betrayed her, and ultimately bring hell to everyone who has done her wrong. So it's a take on the villainous genre in that we are following Constance and her ghost companion Scarlet trying to solve Scarlet's murder, and then uncovering essentially all the different corruption and all the different conspiracy within this royal kingdom. And I think the one part I really liked from the first two episodes is when Scarlet possesses Constance, and you get this switch of having the more meek, timid Constance as a character, and then her voice actress Kanani Ichinose switching into a cadence, into a tone that's more confident, self-assured, like Scarlet is as a character. So seeing that switch between the character is something that's good. The two instances I've seen within the first two episodes. But again, it's playing out like a typical murder mystery. We are getting all these characters from Scarlet's past who, albeit, are still around, and then seeing how Constance tries to navigate everything and seeing where she has to rely on Scarlet. Where, again, I don't want to say it's outstanding, but I think it does enough to where if you're a fan of the villainous genre, or at least even a mystery genre as well, there might be something there for you. But I gotta admit, by the end of episode 2, you do see the common trappings of a mystery anime like this, of a mystery story like this. We get the typical cuts of, oh no, someone's been watching her or someone's following her. And again, it doesn't do anything to really innovate the genre, but I think for the most part, it does what it's doing relatively well,
Right.
being propped up by these stronger two central characters. So if you're looking for, a conspiracy mystery with a hint of villainous flair, I do recommend Holy Grail of Eris. At least give the first few episodes a watch just to see if it's for you. But again, nothing too groundbreaking for me to say, no, this is a must watch. But yeah, that's my fourth pick. Matt, are you still reading anything in the villainous genre in general, or is this something that you're not really following these days?
No, I don't really seek out anything in the villainous genre. But if it sticks out, it sticks out to me, and I'll go read it. And I don't know, the way that this was described, and the what do you call it? I was watching the trailer as you were talking about it, and I kind of like the character designs here. I might go give this one a watch.
Character designs are good, and I believe one of the last anime recap episodes, I know, Rakush, you said this is a genre, the villainous genre isn't one you're really that familiar with. Is that something you've checked out just in general within the last year or so, or is it something still for you to potentially seek out in the future if the right anime arises?
So I did watch the whole season of May I Ask for One Final Favor?
Yes.
That is very identical to what you just described for Grail of Eris. This is interesting. I might go give it an episode just to kind of see how it matches up tonally, because it was a fun series to watch, that one, and it did enough to kind of carry an overall story there as well. As far as the mystery part of this series, that sounds interesting, so I'm kind of curious how much they dive into that.
Okay, cool. And I guess now we're in our final picks. Matt, what's your final draft pick for Winter Season Anime 2026?
My final draft pick for Winter Anime 2026 is Tamon's B-side, or Tamon-kun's B-side. Did either of you watch this?
Yes.
No.
Oh, really, Jaren?
Jaren?
Is this a Jaren anime, Matt?
Jaren, oh my god.
It's a Jaren anime.
This is such a Jaren. Okay, I initially wasn't going to watch this anime, but then I came across a tweet or a post or something like that, where the tweet was, JC staff put more effort into one episode of this anime than they did into all of One Punch Man season 3.
Is this JC staff?
Yes, this is JC staff.
Oh, fuck. Okay.
And when they say that, I gotta go check it out.
Yeah.
Started that episode, Jared, you know how much I love to stumble into an anime where the main character is voiced by Sayori Hayami, and oh man, to give this a very, very high level explanation, this is a show where basically there's this male idol group that is being idolized by the main character. She ends up being a housekeeper for her Oshi, and turns out that her Oshi, who on stage is this smoldering pile of charisma, is just fucking degen hermit when he's off air. And this watches how do I say this? It is like someone took a self-insert fanfic and they self-inserted themselves as just a Tumblr shit poster. And it's so good.
It's pretty good. It's pretty good.
Okay.
Oh man.
Matt, I got a question for you. Have you been watching the new Oshinoko season?
I have not.
Okay. Next,
where are they now? Because I read the manga for it, so I just where are they now in the new season?
It's the last season. So
okay.
Basically, what I'm going to ask you to do is, if you do start watching Oshinoko, watch one of those episodes, watch Tamon B-side right after that, because I think that is probably where this series also strikes out the most, is that it's the complete opposite of what that series is.
Oh yeah, no, those two series are total fucking opposites.
Yeah,
this is the degen Tumblr side of the idol fandom.
It's amazing,
and it is so good.
I also love that literally both of us were like, yeah, this is a Jaren anime. Like, as I'm watching it, I'm writing
Yes.
down, like, one of my notes is, this is Jaren anime.
Yes, like Jaren, I'm gonna drop you some like gems that I decided to pick out of the dialogue of this anime.
Okay.
Which is you know, when they first meet, the main character's like what do you call it? The main idol character's apartment is just like completely covered in like just garbage everywhere. The quote is, "Oh, I'm sorry, I'm trash creating more trash." We have
Good quote.
you know, him being nervous about his hands being sweaty during a you know, handshake meeting, and she drops, "Oh, Tamon's hand sweat is literally an elixir. Being able to breathe the same air is a delicious meal." And you know, there is a whole part where Fangirl and her friends are talking about, "Oh, what if our idol got like caught in a dating scandal?" And they all just drop very, like, you know, very seriously, "Hey, we'll murder her together." And then like the scene changes and they're just like dancing together on top of a bunch of just like, I know you don't like mushrooms, but like it played very well in the thing. Jaren, you need to watch this anime. I think you'll at the very least really, really enjoy episode 1.
Okay. You sold me, you guys. You sold me. And Matt, to be honest, all you had to say was Sayori Hayami. And Matt, Rakush, I think one of these days we really do need to do the Mistake Zone Hall of Fame, because need to give our first ballot Hall of Famer her due, because guys, I love Sayori Hayami so much.
Same.
You have sold me on Tamon's B-side, Matt and Rakush, where damn, this sounds like a good time. And just watching the trailer right now, that anime production is pretty good compared to what little I've seen of One Punch Man.
Oh man,
2.
God,
Dude.
I love that comment so much.
Wild to me that I didn't realize that this is JC staff.
Guy. You know, sorry, Rakush, I guess you just didn't recognize them when they don't slide things across the screen the way they usually do.
Yeah, it wasn't a PowerPoint presentation.
So, Rakush, you said you watched this. How did you overall like feel about this?
Honestly, I really enjoyed it. For me, it's a high probation. Mainly because I think like, while the first episode I really enjoyed it, a big part of my enjoyment came from sort of like that inside joke amusement of Jaren's really going to enjoy this series. So I do want to give it a few more episodes to see if it can stand on its own. I think the characters are very earnest. First episode moved very fast, so like a lot of stuff happened there. And honestly, like, I don't typically watch shoujo stuff, but this is some good stuff. Like, the humor's good, the music is pretty legit, even if it's not my kind of music.
Right.
And the animations, I feel, are like pretty flowy in a way that, honestly, going back to Wandance, kind of wish that one was a little bit more of this.
Also, I think like for me, this is actually my opening of the season for the shows that I've watched.
Interesting.
Okay.
But yeah, for me, this is a must-watch series. I've already watched all that's out, and I don't know, I like it. People have dropped the very classic comment of like, "Are they lovers? No, it's worse. They're idiots."
Yeah, that's the
classic.
I'm into it.
That's the Apothecary Diaries one. That's great.
Okay. Well, Rakush, final draft pick of the winter season. What you got?
Well, Jared, you said polar opposites earlier, and I really wish it were my turn to pick an anime right after you said that, because the segue would have been fantastic to my last pick. You and I are polar opposites. It is amazing. Honestly, let's just start there. I think, like, I knew about this series basically through, like, you know, kind of seeing the manga circulating online a lot. And I've always seen sort of like, you know, pages here and there, right? So like it gave off a lot of, artistically, it gave off the kind of vibes that I would get from seeing things from like My Dress Up Darling. I'm assuming Jaren just kind of started paying attention at that point. Jaren, this is another Jaren series as well. If Tamon's B-side did not exist, I would call this easily within the first 30 seconds, Jaren's anime of the season. And I don't know if you actually watched this one yet or not, but I feel like I'm on the mark with this.
No, this is definitely something on my radar, but what's up, Rakush? What has you so high on it?
I feel like you need to watch this soon as we stop recording, but I think it's one of those, it's your standard, like, high school kids kind of like figuring out what their feelings are and navigating a lot of that stuff. The first episode, I would say, works pretty quickly at like setting them up as a couple.
Mm-hmm.
The main character, Suzuki, is your pretty like typical gal. The guy, I believe, is Yusuke. Yusuke is like your typical sort of like, stoic figure with glasses, doesn't really speak out much, like your classic introvert in that sense. And there's definitely, like, well, opposites attract. That's the cliche, right? Like, that's what the name is going for as well. There's a lot of that. I think like a lot of the story and the humor is carried by Suzuki, the character. I'm trying to figure out who her VA is, well, because
it is Sayumi Suzushiro again.
That's why I said to put a pin on in it, Rakush.
I'm not familiar with like the names and stuff, but yeah, like a lot of shows she's doing this season, I guess. But yeah, she does a fantastic job at carrying this. The side characters are the kind of endearing that I like in a series like this as well, because whenever you already have like an established couple, you kind of need the side characters to be sort of like the proper kind of bumbling and great. So like that's awesome. Great opening. I think this one would be like up there for me a little bit. The humor matches a little bit of what Witch Watch had last season. I think like that's one that I didn't really speak about a lot, but kind of grew on me quite a bit. So like kind of watching this one and seeing sort of like the vibe, and like I know Jaren, earlier we were talking about like the poppy sort of like, characters and stuff like that. This is one of those instances where it does actually work for me, because everything surrounding the character is also really good. And I think just sort of like this idea of like kids trying to figure out their feelings, it's very wholesome. It's really awesome. Really enjoyed sort of like the opening parts of this episode where like she's practicing her lines in the mirror, and then like the brother walks by, and like there's just like a lot of like shit like that that's just like very endearing. I also wrote a couple of things here that were just sort of like live reacts, almost like chat like. They said the line already in the first episode. If you watch it, you know. Hand holding already in episode 1. So when I said it's moving fast, real fast. And the music feels perfect for the series so far. I think they've just nailed it on that one. So this one's a must watch for me. I think it's that and Journal with Witch are like the only two like must watches outside of the returning series this season. It, I think, is a really, really good first episode.
Honestly, the series itself is like so damn strong. If you are interested in reading the manga is complete. And
I was about to ask you. It sounds like you're familiar with it.
And I'm really hoping that this ends up being kind of better off because the manga is complete, so that they can interweave the stories like a lot more. Because I mean, personally, I think an issue I had with the manga towards the end is that they do a lot of arcs based on kind of like everybody else, and towards the end, basically the main characters kind of like start to disappear because like their story is basically complete, and then the last few, I want to say, like chapters are them wrapping up all of the friends arcs, which honestly I want to say the friends arcs are very good, but like I was missing seeing the main characters towards the end. But overall, like I really like the series. This is like a top series for me.
Yeah.
And I'm really glad that after the animation disappointment that I got for Tune Into the Midnight Heart, that the animation quality for You and I Are Polar Opposites is like, I think like really, really good. I think that this is like this season's like Dangers in My Heart, Komi Can't Communicate.
Sure.
What else? Like Love is War, in the way that like Love is War is like a kind of like slice of life instead of like the other half of like Love is War. But
sure.
Yeah, like I think this is a very, very strong anime. I watched all the episodes. They're out. One of the episodes, the main character woke up with a 6:30 a.m. alarm, and I wanted to vomit.
This guy.
Oh man.
I woke up at 6:30 today, actually.
Oh my God, Rakush, why are you why are you alive?
Why am I
It's
alive?
literally when I wake up during the
Oh
week.
God, you guys are fucking something else.
But
I mean, we got, I don't know, like, just, that's our routine now.
You know, okay. a little, what do you call it? A little look behind the curtain. We are recording this at like 10 a.m. Set the alarm for this episode for me to wake up at 9:45. That is
amazing.
honestly earlier than I wake up for work on a normal day.
This guy. No wonder.
Oh,
yeah.
man.
No, there's like weekdays I have to wake up at like 7:30 basically.
Ugh.
Today I just kind of woke up an hour early because the phone just was going off. So I was like, oh shit, what's up? That's all.
These normies.
These norms indeed. Boys, is Sayumi the MVP workhorse of the winter anime season? I'm looking at her role list for the season. We have 4 that we talked about this episode. Wash It Away. She was Ika Carino in Tune Into the Midnight Heart, Scarlet in Holy Grail of Eris, and now Suzuki in You and I Are Polar Opposites. And I didn't realize she was voicing you, and I made friends with the second prettiest girl in my class, so I guess I'm going to be watching that when that comes out for spring season. Okay, I'll put a bookmark on that.
Mm-hmm.
But You and I Are Polar Opposites. Rakush locks in his final pick, and I guess for my final pick of the season, I went with Kaya-chan Isn't Scary. And boys, I know we're dogpiling right now, but one comment I see a lot when I look up Kaya-chan Isn't Scary is, wow, this is if One Punch Man Season 2 was a good anime.
Amazing.
And
holy shit.
I think this is once again in that realm of comfy, poppy anime. But what I do like about... So hear me out. I think when Kaya-chan isn't scary, when you're dealing with, protagonist that is a kindergartner, essentially, you do have that, at least at a first glance, that, more poppy, more kind of easygoing atmosphere. And I think for maybe a quarter of an episode, you do get that lightheartedness. But I think what really sold me on the series is the ending of episode 1, when we get a glimpse of Kaya-chan's home life, specifically her mother. But before we kind of get into this, the basic premise is that Kaya-chan, as I said, is a kindergartner who is supposed to be, or at least they present her as the strongest psychic to exist, I guess, because she's a kid and she's able to see all these different ghosts and spirits. And I guess why this is One Punch Man Season 2 but good is every time she has to deal with one of these spirits, it's basically a one-hit KO. There's always that pop for me whenever she delivers a good punch or a good hit and the ghosts go or explode. That always gets me. I love me a good one punch when it is presented relatively well. But, you do get glimpses of Kaya being misunderstood for this just because she's the only one that can see ghosts. So I think that's why when we get to episode 2 and we get to see her forming somewhat of a friendship with other girls, that's where it kind of gets stronger, while you still have this looming presence of what's actually happening with her home life, with her mother in particular, and all these surrounding supporting characters that are more in tune with, the supernatural, where she does have a quote-unquote ally in her teacher, Chie, voiced by Maya Uchida. And I think as that reluctant sensei character, I feel like she's a good supporting character as well, that every time her and Kaya do interact, there is a good chemistry between the two. You have that teacher that is obviously trying to look after her student, but at the same time trying to kind of ignore the fact that there's all these terrifying demons around her and not really wanting to acknowledge that. Where, again, it is a fun maybe fun is kind of oversimplifying it, but it is something that I have found entertaining. I think each episode that I like, just to see Kaya become a bit more accepted by her classmates, by those around her, and then meeting all the more occult, supernatural adjacent characters who are also trying to support her to a varying degree. It is something that I have come to enjoy, where again, I don't want to say it's a must watch just because I think the more comfy elements and Kaya as a character might not be for everyone, because, let's face it, if you're following a kindergartner, I don't think that's everyone's cup of tea. But if you do like that take on having something cute at the exterior that is hiding something a bit dark, something akin to what I mentioned in my wrap-up episode with Miyu-chan will always be your friend, to check it out. I think there's some edge to it, but there's also some fluffiness to be had. And I think every time I do watch an episode, I'm being harkened back to those League of Legends days with Annie as a character, and that notion of, man, if Annie was 10 years older, she'd probably be the strongest person in this whole series. But I don't know how much that's true, just because I stopped following League. But again, it's one of those, if Kaya is supposed to be the strongest psychic now, how will she be in 10 years? And I think that's also something that I might not be able to see by the time the 12 episodes of this series wraps up. But it is something that kind of lives in the back of my head when I see her adventures. But Matt, Rakush, did any of you check out Kaya-chan Isn't Scary this season as well?
I did not. The trailer looks nice, though.
You said the trailer looks nice?
Yeah, I've been watching, whenever you guys have been talking about the anime, I've been watching the trailers for them as you talk about them.
Yeah. I gave the first episode a watch, and I think, have you guys watched Dark Gathering at all?
No.
I think I watched that in passing, but I never stuck with it.
Okay. So, I think, like, as someone that did watch it, and anybody that has watched Dark Gathering, I think starting Kaya-chan, that would be the first comparison you make, because you have a purple-haired protagonist that can see ghosts while others can't. So, that is very much like a starting point for this one. And also the character similarities. Like, they're both exorcists. Yeah. Both have these, like, side characters that didn't necessarily believe in ghosts, or like, didn't know how to deal with ghosts, that are now all of a sudden like their assistants, so to speak, right? And the thing that, like, with Kaya-chan through the first episode for me that really stuck out is I'm not quite certain I like the supporting cast. I think, like, there's also some hints about, like, this weirdo character that's being added in as well. Jaren, I think you kind of alluded to this person. I don't know. It's not something that I want to watch. It's not something that I necessarily think is bad. I think, like, as the episode was going along at first, I was kind of saying, like, I'm not particularly loving, like, the humor that it's going for there. And as far as, like, the longer story that needed to be told, at first I was kind of like, is this just going to be Monster of the Week? I'm not quite certain. I think the ending with the mom really kind of ties that stuff together, so that's less of a concern. But the concern around the characters is still a big one for me. I still think it's like I might give it one more episode, but I'm more leaning towards just kind of passing on this one, mainly because I don't know, like, side characters just don't seem that great to me personally, but I know that's a preferential thing.
Yeah, I think when you get to the next episodes, we do, as I kind of said, we do get glimpses of Kaya-chan actually having friends, or at least other people warming up to her. So, but again, it's your mileage may vary depending on if you like those types of characters or not. Where I get where you're coming from, Rakush, and the one character you're talking about, I guess I'm going to say this just because I think you were such a fan of Kinta Sakata from Don Da Don.
Yeah.
Where the one character you're talking about at the end of episode 1 of Kaya-chan, I already didn't like Kinta that much. I feel like this character is just a worse version of that character.
Well, Kinta's not taking weird photos of people.
Kinta, this person's not, without spoilers, he's technically also another, like, exorcist adjacent character. So I'm not, again, with that type of character, I think he's the one character that I'm definitely 100% not sold on, where, you know, her teacher, her friend, her quote unquote friends, I think I've warmed up to them to a varying degree, but I think like him as a character, especially when he's by the end of the episode, you know, that's the kind of the plot point in season 2, or at least one of the plot points of season 2, of even though they're trying to present him as misunderstood, as someone who is, even though he might be presented as a creepo, he's actually an ally to Kaya-chan. I don't know. He just doesn't vibe with me by then, even though it's supposed to clear up. But I think the other characters leave a better impression. But I feel like if you're not sold by episode 2, this is probably not an anime for you in general, to anyone listening.
Yeah, and like I get that there can be certain characters that are misunderstood. Maybe I'm just not necessarily the biggest fan of like the framing that we're getting in like the opening closing stuff. Maybe that's what my issue is more than anything else. Another thing also is like the reason I'm not just fully stepping away from a series like this is because there are those underlying things about anytime you watch something in the horror genre, it's horror to be as a genre works best when it's a social commentary on something, right? And I think in this instance here, it is talking about how, like, in real life, like, the impression of a kid changes drastically based on what people think is going on in the family life and stuff, right? And I think, like, the end of the episode really kind of sets that up in an interesting way, where it's, like, you see the gossiping happening around, like, oh, like, only the dad comes to pick her up, and, like, you know, they talk about this unfortunate thing that happens with the mom, and it's not that, like, the kid has done anything wrong or anything different as far as we know just yet, but the kid is treated differently as well, and, like, the impact that, like, you know, a kid can have when those kind of things happens too. And I think from that perspective, it's really fascinating. But yeah, like, even if you ignore sort of like the weirdo character, at least in the first episode, I feel like the teacher isn't necessarily shown as like a competent assistant. I think they might be building towards it. And yeah, maybe like, you know, second, third episode, we get to a point where like it's more collaborative and less reactive. Because so far it just kind of seems like Kaya-chan just does like solves the problems. The teacher doesn't necessarily know that a problem's been solved. And then she's just there to react to things. And I think like that's where it falls a little bit flat for me so far, and I'm kind of just sort of looking for more of that with episode 2.
Yeah, I think the relationship with Chie, the teacher, gets a bit better in episode 2, but I think based on what you've described, it's not fully there by the end of it. One thing I do want to highlight about episode 2 that I think is a interesting production choice is just, you know, kind of going back to that theme of how children perceive the world and what is horror. One of the points, or one of the sub stories with episode 2, you know, I apologize for trying to talk around it, is when Kaya-chan and one of her classmates believe they both see a ghost. And then what turns out to be a ghost kind of is reflected in a PSA towards the end of the episode, which kind of caught me off guard in that, hey, even if the message is, even if a child might be saying nonsense, it might be worth, you know, really paying attention to what they're saying, just because they might not be able to express what they're saying, but it's just because they can't express what they're saying, that doesn't mean you can dismiss it. And I think when you end a episode with like a legit PSA like that, I'm curious to see if they're actually able to not only build upon that as a theme, but still keep the proper execution by the end of it. Because yeah, it's one thing to essentially say, hey, maybe we should listen to the kids more, but then still couple it with, you know, a character that is being presented as potentially a peeping Tom, even though he isn't. And he's just also kind of looking out for Kaya's best interest as well. So it's a lot of mixed signals, mixed flags to me, where although I'm enjoying it's still riding that balance, that fine line of I feel like it still can teeter at any moment for either the better or for the worse. And
Yeah.
there is that kind of morbid curiosity to see, can it's still a positive for me, but can it keep up throughout the episode? Are we able to see, are these characters able to remain likable, at least to me, or can it just get kind of old real quick? But for me personally, this is in a watch the first 3 episodes just to see if it's in your bag. But again, I think it's also telling that, Rakush, you mentioned, we have all these different adults talking around children and kind of perceiving what a family situation is like without, hearing from the source directly. And when I think about the funeral scene in Journal with Witch, I feel like the execution there, the payoffs there, just because we have Mikio really coming to bat for Asa and really defending her against all these words, where I think one thing that, I understand why it doesn't happen, but for no one to come to bat for Kaya-chan by the end of episode 1, for all intents and purposes, that's where, the execution between sticking up for, a quote-unquote more vulnerable character falls a bit short in Kaya-chan compared to something like Journal with Witch, where by the end of it, I hope that Kaya-chan has the support she actually needs, because with the scene of her mother at the end, I think that's the thing I want to see most, is this girl being supported, despite the fact that she can one-punch any ghost. I guess that's me taking a more serious approach to something that can be viewed as more comfy. But yeah, I think I hope they continue to keep executing with the Kaya-chan. And it doesn't, because there is so much opportunity for it to flub. But we'll see moving forward.
I would also say, like, if like the core concept is of interest to you, check out Dark Gathering as well. It's kind of similar in many ways. I think it handles the horror stuff a lot better.
Cool. And with that, boys, we finished our winter season 2026 draft. Okay, Rakush, based on your episode reel, your 5 animes that you brought, is your lock of the season, you and I are polar opposites?
Out of my 5, yes. That is absolutely the best of the bunch.
And I know you did watch a few more other episodes, even without going into them. Is there anything else you might recommend that we didn't get to talk about this episode?
No, I think there's a couple that were on like your list and on Matt's list that I think I absolutely loved as well. Like Journal with Witch, I think it's my favorite series of the season as far as like new series are concerned. Outside of that, there's a bunch of returning stuff. If people haven't watched Hell's Paradise, I think go back and watch season 1 and come to season 2. It's a really good show. It's from Mappa. One of the more sort of like under the radar series. So maybe that's the one I would throw out there. You don't think it's under the radar?
I think everybody was fucking talking about that shit when the first season came out.
I wouldn't say that. Because like you're then like putting it in the same echelon as like the most popular series, right? Like I think when I say under the radar, I'm saying that like if you look at Mappa series, you're thinking of the big ones. You're not necessarily thinking of Hell's Paradise.
Okay. I guess I am looking at it from the point of view of people who are fucking on talking about anime. So
well, yeah.
Fair. And with that, boys, just before we throw it away, we do have to have one more segment. And Rakush,
yes,
you're up to bat this week for the Don't Match Me Challenge. Real quick, the Don't Match Me Challenge every week. One of us will bring you 5 questions, and all you have to do is come up with an answer that doesn't match our own. If you want to play on, easy difficulty, try not to match Rakush. But if you want a bit more of a challenge, try not to match me and Matt as well. Rakush, what's the challenge this week?
I love that you didn't trust me to do the explanation. I actually appreciate that. Thank you. Guys, it's a snowstorm outside. It is insane outside. And I figured, you know what? What better theme to cover this week with our Don't Match Me than snow? So guys, I think I'm gonna start with a pretty just general question. If you want to look up certain classifications of snow while we get through this question, I just want you guys to pick a classification of snow, keeping in mind that there are different kinds of snowfalls, different intensities of it. I just want you guys to pick one from the list that you can find on Wikipedia. All right, guys. So going into it in 3, 2, 1. I'm actually going to go with something that sounds insane, a thunder snow. Thunder snows occurs when a snowstorm generates lightning and thunder. It may occur in areas that are prone to a combination of wind and moisture triggers that promote instability, often downwind of lakes or in mountainous terrain. It may occur with intensifying extratropical cyclones. Such events are often associated with intense snowfall.
Mm-hmm.
Matt, what'd you go with?
Honestly, I felt like thunder snow was a bait, so
Yep.
So I skipped it, and I went with something much more normal. I just went with the cold front.
A cold front, yes. Description: the leading edge of unstable cold air, replacing warmer circulating around an extra tropical cyclone, which may cause instability, snow showers, or squalls. Jaren, what you got?
I went with the only one that I want to see when there's snow on the docket, and that's a snow flurry.
Yeah. An intermittent light snowfall event of short duration with only a trace level of accumulation. Well, guys, it's not a trace level of accumulation outside. We're actually getting our shit kicked in by the snow. But, sometimes I take comfort in knowing that we aren't the only country that gets hit by snow hard. There's a lot of countries in the northern hemisphere that get hit hard, and so I just want you guys to name a country in the northern hemisphere. So in 3, 2, 1. Guys, I'm just going to go with Canada, actually, because, man, I don't know. I don't know if anyone's getting hit with this much snow right now. It's kind of crazy. Matt, what you got?
I mean, I just went with, what do you call it? The place where I assume gets a lot of snow. I just went with Russia.
Yeah, that's a good one.
That's just landmass at some point.
Well, I mean, there was a whole thing about the Nazis trying to invade Russia during the winter and not being prepped for the cold. So yeah, there's a whole thing there. Jaren, what you got?
With all the options, I'm surprised this wasn't your right off the bat question, Rakush. But to answer, I just went with Mexico.
Yeah, Mexico's a good one.
There's a lot of options here.
Yeah, the northern hemisphere are kind of OP. When you compare the southern hemisphere.
I think the one I was surprised by the most is the amount of African countries that are in the northern hemisphere. But yeah. Guys, next question. There's a animal that is often associated with the winter season and things like hibernations. I'm talking about bears. I want you guys to name a type of bear. Pretty sure we've done this question before, but just name a type of bear. In 3, 2, 1. Guys, we spoke about a series called You and I Are Polar Opposites, and so I decided that I'm going to go with the polar bear.
Ooh. Of course. Another one that I avoided because I thought it was bait.
What'd you go with?
I went with the panda bear.
Yeah, that's a good one. Jaren, what'd you go with?
I went with a Care Bear, but since that's probably not a right answer,
I'll take it.
My real answer would be a brown bear, but the first thing that came to mind was a Care Bear.
Care Bear's good. I feel that. Guys. Next question is about something we actually don't eat during a snow. Well, some folks might, depending on how toasty your house is. But it's more of a summer delicacy. Guys, I just want you to name a frozen dessert.
You guys don't eat frozen desserts in the winter?
I mean, again, depends on how toasty your house is. But also, if you're eating frozen desserts, you've also mentioned that you keep the clubhouse windows open. That's insane. How do you not have a cold at all times?
Yeah, you just build an immunity.
I don't believe that. In 3, 2, 1. Guys, I'm actually going to go with something you find in theaters, the icy slushies, or used to find in theaters. It's just a bunch of flavored syrup and a bunch of crushed ice. I used to love it. We no longer find it in our local theaters. It kind of sucks.
Hate to
I
see
mean, you
it.
still find slush puppies depending on the theater you go to, but if you're looking for ices in particular, I feel like that's just a pretzel shop treat, at least in our area right now.
If you find slush puppies at a theater, let me know which one you find it in.
Will do.
Matt, what you got?
I went with the popsicle, but like I specifically went with an It's a Kadoozy.
Which one's that?
It's like that long citrus popsicle that is it has like the swirling red, green, yellow design.
Okay, yeah, I do know that one. That's a good choice.
Yeah, I love me and It's a Kadoozy.
Yeah. Jaren, what'd you go with?
I went with the Filipino shaved ice dessert. I know I was risking it to see if Matt would pick it, but I went with the Halo Halo.
Right.
Mostly because I was at a seafood city the other day, and I think it's criminal that one of the kiosks is selling Halo Halo for upwards towards like $16.
That's insane.
That should be a crime. That should be a
Just
crime.
getting ready for the clovers. The clovers.
Isn't Halo Halo made using like full ice chunks though, or am I thinking of something else?
It's like shaved ice, and then you just put like stuff into it.
Interesting. Okay. Maybe I'm getting it wrong. I don't know. Anyways, guys, I'm surprised none of us picked ice cream as like a traditional ice cream. But my fifth question is actually about ice cream. Guys, what is a topping that is widely regarded as a regular topping that you would put on an ice cream? Or it could be like a flavor that like, you know, it's kind of incorporated into the ice cream itself. In 3, 2, 1. Guys, I just went with Old Reliable. I went with chocolate.
Oh god, I was so scared.
I think I know which one you went with, Matt. But what did you go with?
I went with the other, I think, Old Reliable, which is Rainbow Sprinkles.
Rainbow Sprinkles, interesting.
Classic.
Okay.
Classic.
Yeah. But what flavor would you typically put the Rainbow Sprinkles on? Maybe answer that after Jaren gives us his answer.
No, just put peanut. For mine, it's peanut butter. Melted peanut butter, specifically.
Yeah. Oh, man. Dude, the peanut butter chocolate swirl at that ice cream shop nearby us that I'm not going to name. Oh.
Guys, I've been eating Reese's Pieces this whole recording.
Fantastic.
So good.
I actually just ran out of peanut butter at home. I want to go buy some. But there's a winter storm outside, you guys. Matt, what flavor ice cream are you putting the sprinkles on?
I am offended that you would limit Rainbow Sprinkles to a flavor.
Really?
Single ice cream flavor.
No, what do you put it on?
I fucking put... If I have Rainbow Sprinkles and ice cream, I'll just fucking put them together.
Oh, interesting.
Sorry, Rakush, I'm not flavorist like you are.
Ah, got it. You only segregate people.
Only people are the only things that need to be segregated, Rakush.
Ah, I don't like this. I don't like this gimmick.
You started the bit.
Yeah, that's on me. That's my fault. That's don't match me. Matt is unmatched in his tyranny.
Rakush, I'm surprised you didn't ask what your favorite name a Yuki. Name a character named Yuki.
Ooh.
But maybe
Why would
that's
I do that? Oh, anime.
Don't match me. Bonus question from me, Jaren Wade. Guys, name a character named Yuki.
Oh fuck! I actually can't. Jaren, I don't know people's names.
Fair enough.
I'm gonna name a real person who's an F1 driver named Yuki Tsunoda.
Jared, I can only think of one Yuki, and I think it's the same one that you're thinking of.
If you said Yuki from Future Diary, Myra Nikki, you're out.
Ooh, damn. Hate to hear it.
Who did you got, Matt?
Oh, that's the only Yuki I can think of off the top of my head.
Fair. But boys, we talked about some anime this season. Lots of ups, lots of downs, lots of mid, from what I gathered, based on our draft picks. But I want to thank my best friend in the whole wide world, Matt Alba, for joining me this week, editing this podcast and bringing some anime. And Matt, I hope you're not sentenced to be a hero anytime soon.
Nah.
Thanks, Matt.
Yo, thanks, Sharon. As always, want to thank you for hosting this episode and joining us and ditching Miyazaki for once.
Happens every now and then.
I think Miyazaki ditched him. Let's be honest.
Also, want to thank my other best friend in the whole wide world, Rakush, for joining us this week, bringing some anime and taking time from his daily life of being a part-time torturer to talk some shop. Thanks, Rakush.
I'm only torturing myself, you guys, by not eating. I need to go eat. I'm hungry, you guys.
I want to thank Anime, this I got, but not. Please, take it away.
This has been Mistake Zone, and we're all out of ever watching Jack of all trades, party of none.